Lisa D'Amato, the public betrayal. Why are we locking anyone in a closet? Miss me with like Tyra didn't know. She absolutely know. Tyra, you sicken me. Show that you care for them outside of the show. Like, Tyra just did whatever she could to get on top. So my next big point is after the show ended for these contestants, there was no support. It's really sad because a lot of these girls came to this show with the hopes of becoming wealthy or just having a career or just being in a better place than they were when they started the show. And it's extremely unfortunate because for maybe not everyone, but for a lot of these contestants, they were left off in a worse shape than when they started. How is that at all any female empowerment? How is that all anything to be celebrated or anything to worth continuing? If how are these contestants just like they're being used up and left on the side of the road? They're nothing. Like these are people, these are women, these are young women aspiring for something. You guys, they and I will never stop saying it, damn it. But Tyra and the Devil and Ken Mock, the Devil 2.0. All you alls had a responsibility, and the networks, everyone had a responsibility to protect these girls. And as we've all seen through these multiple exposing documentaries, that never happened, right? Girls were not protected. They were left traumatized. A lot of these girls were publicly labeled. Lisa D'Amato, she talked about, or is that part one? I don't know. I think maybe it's part two, but she well, I might be jumping the gun, but Lisa talks about how when she was depicted as this drunk on TV, and that followed her for 15 years after the show, nasty comments on social media. And so she had to live with this label, which is awful. You go out and people are laughing at you. That is not a good feeling at all. That must be so deeply hurtful. So I'm like, that is devastating. Some of the other contestants, some spiraled, some disappeared, some just never recovered. Oh, and then they also talked about contestant who passed away, Moran. I don't want to butcher her name, but Miranda Pryor. But she unfortunately had passed away, and they brought her up because they felt like had the show supported her a little bit more after the show ended, perhaps she would have been in a different situation. And so it's really sad because how can Tyra have built this show literally on diversity and just like female empowerment? We're going to be protected. I'm going to be okay. And so for you to then just turn around and exploit them to for everything they've got. In part one, I do talk about how they use psych evals to fight their trauma so they can exploit them. But you will need to wait for part two, or that's episode one. So definitely don't forget to follow, subscribe, whichever one applies. This show didn't walk the walk. They talked the talk, right? We're female empowerment, blah, blah. When it came down to it, Tyra didn't walk the walk, right? It meant nothing. It was just empty talk, just a catchphrase, a business thing. And in reality, if you were really about that, you show up for these girls. You really like show that you care for them outside of the show. Like that would have helped your empire. People would see that. Even if you wanted to document that film or whatever, I just like you really never ever once went out of her way to help any of the contestants. And she was supposedly and built the show to mentor them. Some mentoring she did. Hmm. Oh, 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 oh my gosh, we have two more. But Lisa D'Amato, the public betrayal. But this one shocked me. So in part two, Lisa talks about how she was invited to the Tyra show. If you guys remember that, right? It was happening airing at the same time as in the morning as to when America's Next Top Model was on. And so then Lisa was invited, and originally they were producers told her, "Hey, Lisa, we want to bring you on the show so you can talk about your childhood traumas, and we'll pay you $750." And then Lisa was like, "Click." Well, she didn't do that, but she's like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." And then they're like, well, then you can just come and talk about your America's Next Top Model experience." Cool, I'll do that. So that's what was said on. But girl, it wasn't. This crazy though. This part is crazy. But so flash forward, Lisa's on set. Tyra's introducing her segment. I don't know if Lisa was on stage already or was backstage, but like, she heard Tyra. No, I think she was on stage. She heard Tyra. Tyra was like, Lisa was on America's Next Top Model, but what you don't know is that she was sexually and physically abused for her entire childhood. And apparently, Lisa completely flipped out. She started cursing. They had to stop the segment and take PA had to come and take her backstage. And what they do to her backstage is very suspicious because Lisa says that she was locked in a closet for about maybe 20, 30 minutes. And so after they calmed her down in the closet, which is extremely alarming. Why are we locking anyone in a closet? She's not an animal. You guys blindsided her. You guys bringing up things like Hmm, sexual and physical abuse, childhood is not going to bring up good memories for anyone. It just these people were just so unethical, so cruel. They were just playing with people, and it's just gross. And I'm like, Tyra is at the helm because I'm like, this show particularly, Tyra, you practice, you okay these segments. Nothing goes by without you knowing about it. So I'm like, please miss me with Tyra didn't know. She absolutely know because it was Tyra that was like I don't think Tyra was ever misled. Oh, Tyra, she said okay to that talking about this. Tyra, no. Tyra's too much of a sneaky narcissist to does whatever it takes to get the ratings. And so after I think Lisa had I don't know, I guess calmed down according to them, they brought her back out. Lisa finished the segment. I don't think they ended up talking about that, but she ended up finishing that. And so it just like to me, it's that is vile. That is really next level evil, just vicious. Like you're like playing who does that? These are people. Like you don't just bring this up for enter. I don't want to see that. Oh my gosh, Tyra, you sicken me. Just like what I was already talking about earlier, but Tyra's image versus what the reality was. I feel like Tyra says it was explained that Tyra says she cares about the girls, but where was that care when they needed protection, right? Tyra just did whatever she could to get on top. I'm gonna say it in Spanish. Que quisiera para llegar arriba. She stepped on anyone's backs just to get to the top. And so I'm like, at the end of the day, sure, it's a business, and from a business, non-emotional standpoint, I'm sure you can look at Tyra and be like, wow, she is quite a mogul inspiration. Sure. But I'm like, you peel off just a little transparent layer and you're like, oh, right? It's marred. It's all soiled and ruined. And I'm like, if I ran into Tyra at the grocery store, I'd probably just give her a look like, I don't know, not make a scene, but there she is buying at my supermarket. What are you doing at Fry's? But one really great quote from the documentary was, "Where was that honesty when you lied about making Regal top models?" They really emphasized how they felt like Tyra didn't want anyone to be on top. Tyra didn't want any of them to outshine her ever. Tyra was like this narcissist that didn't want anyone to outshine her. And it makes sense. If she didn't really propel any of the winners' careers, even when it was literally in her hands to do something about it, she never did anything about it. She never did anything about it, and so I feel like just Tyra's reaping her karma. I hate to say it, I don't feel like this is bashing at all because you can't just do all this evil and more. And just she was at some awards dinner and she's like, "Am I gonna have my legacy changed by a string of videos on?" No, girl, it's not a string of videos. It's a lot of psychological manipulation, girl. No, this is not something you can just whoosh over. This is a real serious problem that you let go on for, you said, 24 cycles. You let it happen. You were at the helm, and people around you all helped you. Ken Mock is equally as culpable. And I hate that. I really wish Ken Mock would get the hate as much as Tyra because it was always at the end of the credits or at the end of the show, executive producer Ken Mock, right? So I'm like, so he's the devil 2.0, but it's just it's really sad because I feel like Tyra had an opportunity to really empower these girls to really make a positive impact. I feel like she could have really built something maybe just a little bit more positive or just a little more genuine and heartfelt. And I just felt like that was quickly dissolved as the show went on, and it was irrecognizable by the end. And so I just like it's really disappointing about Tyra because I do think she's a narcissist. I do feel like it's all about her image, her ego, because this was the ego trip. Oh, one shady thing that they said in the documentary was designers don't talk about Tyra the same way they talk about Naomi Campbell, right? When we all think about Naomi Campbell, we associate her with the fierce runway honey, yes. But Tyra, Victoria's Secret, and I don't know. But she has her own achievements, and her own successes in her own right, but just not as iconic as Naomi, right? And so I think Tyra saw an opportunity and she took it, and here we are dissecting it just over 20 years later. But no, Tyra, like, you need to own, she'll never own up to it, but at least these contestants are speaking out and some sort of justification or justice of I was treated this way or I was done dirty, like Angelique, Lisa, everyone, that's so many contestants. But these girls deserve better at the end of the day. And we all did watch for entertainment, but at the end of the day, we're gonna watch what you put out. So I'm like, you have the responsibility to put out something responsible, right? And I just think that baby girl, that responsible train left the station after season 2, I think. No, it just never existed. But Tyra's a very complex person, and I would not want to be friends with her. I feel like I don't know. I feel like she's just like, who is Tyra? Who does anybody know her? But I don't know. But that was my take on America's Next Top Model or Dirty Rotten Scandals on E! I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please and subscribe, comment, share. I really appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll try to be a little funny with it while still reporting the serious business. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.